Hello everyone, I am finally on the back deck to give you the July tour of the third and final deck garden that I have. But first, I want to show off my hat. So we have our garden walk coming up next weekend, and I wanted to make my garden hat look a little extra special. So I put on a dried flower crown that I made over the winter with flowers from last year's garden. I will link that video down below just in case you want to see how I made this crown. But I absolutely love it on the hat. It was again just going to be for the garden walk, but I think I might need to always wear this now. But anyway, I'm going to show you around the back deck. This is where I start my mornings. We have the couch out here. I'll come out. I usually check the front deck garden. I come back here, check this deck, and then at least like sit outside for 15-20 minutes. It probably has my favorite view, or definitely has my favorite view as well, of the church in the background. Now this garden is mostly flowers, mostly annual flowers, and I did try to stick to a color scheme of pinks, purples, peaches, and a little bit of white. There are some random colors that popped in here, but this is what I try to make my prettiest deck, just because I want it to be very relaxing and calm. And I do harvest a lot of the flowers. A lot of them are cut and come again, but I don't have any vegetables or fruit or anything like that out on this deck. This is also the deck that I try to read on the most and get distracted by other things in the garden, but I love it up here. I love seeing the bees in the morning, the birds, the butterflies. So let me take you around and I will give you a tour of my back rooftop deck. First off, I will do a sweep of the deck so you can see where everything is placed before I go into the specifics of what's planted. But I love how this came together. I do feel like this is probably the most organized part of my gardens. So the majority of the plants are just around the edges. I do have some in the center just to make the couch area look prettier. But because we have those air conditioning units, it does take up a little bit more space. Oh, and this deck also has my favorite view with that church. I love the mixture of seeing the garden and then behind it the more like urban aspects. I just really like that combination a lot. I'm first going to start over here by the front doors. So I can see a lot of the deck from here, but these do sit right in front of the windows. I have two panicle hydrangeas. These are tiny quickfires. I've had them since 2022. And I know that because I got them at the Grand Garden Show on Mackinac Island, and that was the last Grand Garden Show that was there. All of my hydrangeas, I have three, are panicle hydrangeas now up here. I did have some big leaf and mountain, but they did not survive in the greenhouse, but the panicles have. So I think as far as hydrangeas on the roof, I'm going with just panicles for now. So that one's a tiny quickfire. The blooms are just opening. And then this one is also a tiny quickfire. And I want to show you something because I don't think the feverfew is blooming on that other one. But I just added some feverfew right below it in the pots because, again, I had extra plants and I saw dirt. But I actually really like how they're growing together, like the sweet little feverfew flowers and then the flowers of the panicle hydrangea. I just think that's really cute. So I think going forward, I will plant something underneath my hydrangeas. Also, I do feel like the tiny quickfire is a little bit more vertical than bushy, so having annuals under it works. Coming around then, I do have my 0G flexible hose. I found that flexible hoses work best for me up here on the deck because it is a smaller space that I have to maneuver around a lot of things. So the flexible hose just made that easier. It got tangled a little bit less. It still gets tangled, just a little bit less. In front of it, I have the third of my panicle hydrangeas. This is the Firelight Tidbit. It's just starting to bloom. And this one does look a little bit bushier, so I don't think I would put annuals underneath this one. I can't remember if I actually did, but if I did, they're not growing there yet. And then behind it is a plant that I fell in love with last year. This is Angelonia. Last year, I grew some from the Cascade series, which that Angelonia drooped a little bit. I'm growing it currently. Well, I have some on the front rooftop deck. I have some on the garage deck, but I don't think I have any cascading ones here. Up here, I have the Angel Face Wedgwood series, and this is the Angel Face Wedgwood Pink. In fact, here is the tag. I don't have tags for all of these, but for the ones that I do, I will show you so you can see the name and the information. So that's what I have growing in a planter here, which I think is one of the planters I actually got this year. Most of my planters I've had, but it's just a flower box from Amazon. It's about a foot width and 3 feet long, but I learned that these are actually cut and come again. So I've been using these a lot for bouquets. When I grew them last year, They were one of the longest lasting flowers in the garden near the end of the season, and they just did really, really well. So that's why I added more this year. But these don't cascade, these grow much more vertically. In this smaller beige pot is a plant that's new for 2026. I love it. I have 3 different varieties, but this one has been having the hardest time with the heat up here. So I am on a rooftop deck. This does get the east sun, so it's slightly less intense than over on the west facing deck or the front deck. I will link the other tours of the additional decks below. But this one's definitely having the hardest time with the amount of heat that we're getting, which makes me very, very sad because I've grown lobelia before. I've just kind of gotten it from Home Depot and stuck it next to or under another plant. But I'm really loving these on their own. So I have a bunch of lobelia just in their own pots. The other 2 varieties that I have seem to be doing okay. But yeah, this one in all the places I have it is struggling a bit. But I don't have the tag specifically for that one. The purple one right here is the Lagoon Royal Lilac. I'll show you the blue one, which is the tag I have in my hand when we get over there. But I do think they're really pretty, and I'm hoping we are starting to get some cooler weather. I am hoping that they bounce back a little bit. Then I have my flower cart. Well, I have my flower cart and then another flower box in front. But this flower cart is one that's going to be photographed for the Gardener's Idea book for Proven Winners for next year. So I'm really excited. I love how it's turned out. I almost think, so because of the height of this, I'm wondering if I even get a second one next year to go here. And I just create a wall. Again, our neighbors are great, but when you're outside, you want some privacy. And I think that would be perfect, especially with the gomphrena on the top. Similar to the garage deck, any specific planting videos I will link down below because I did a video planting up this bucket planter, which I just got from Amazon. But I have 4 different plants growing in it. All of the gomphrena in every row, so there's 3 rows of 4 buckets. All of the gomphrena is the Truffula Pink gomphrena, which has a bit of a different flower head than the gomphrena I start from seed. These look like little fireworks to me. In fact, I think there is a variety similar called fireworks, but most of the other ones that I grow just have like solid round heads, but I really like this one. All of the other flowers in here are petunias, but I have 3 different varieties, and 2 of them are new for 2026. So in the top row here, we have Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud. I love this one. This, and then I've grown Pink Lemonade, I think Calibrachoa, which also has a similar color palette of this pink and a little hint of a very creamy yellow inside. But I love these, and I put them on the top because they will not trail as much as the other petunias in here. And that is the tag for the Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud. In the next row, both of these are annuals that I also have on the garage deck. This is the Supertunia Tiara Pink. This, I think, is one I'm going to have in my garden every year because I love it so much. I love the combination of the darker pink on the outside, the lighter pink on the inside. I love pink, and I can't help myself. So this, I think, is one, like the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, that I'm just going to need to have in my garden. And then finally, well, down here mixed in with the Angelonia, I have a new for 2026 Supertunia. So this is Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz. They do have a Supertunia Vista, is it just called Jazz, but it's a deeper purple color. And so this one is a very beautiful light violet color. Supertunia Vista are the most aggressive growers of the petunia series that Proven Winners had, so that's why I put those on the bottom. Down in front of it, in another flower box, is another of the Angel Face Wedgwood series. This one's called Blue. It's definitely purple, so it's the same series as the pink flowers on either side, but it is a different color. I would call this purple, but it is technically labeled as blue. Also cut and come again, so I've been using these in bouquets as well. And then the last plant on this kind of side border is the glow-in-the-dark petunia. This is the Firefly Petunia from Light Bio. I ordered them online, and you know what? I actually haven't seen if it glows yet. I haven't taken it inside into a dark room, so maybe I'll do that at the end of this video. I haven't done it because, one, I wanted to make sure it grew a good amount and got enough light, but I'm also afraid it's not going to glow in the dark, and then I'm going to be sad. But I guess we'll find out in a little bit. And then I have that same box here filled with the Angel Face Wedgwood Pink Angelonia. Now we go into my back border, which, I mean, I keep saying everything's my favorite. This is definitely one of my favorites. Again, it's the view right in front of the church. I also love when the flowers start to poke over the wall on the deck because that means my neighbors can see my flowers too, which makes me very happy. I did overstuff them, but so far, so good. So in here I know you can't see them because they're covered with plants, but I have 3 elevated beds from the Charming Bench Company that are wooden, cedar wood. In between the beds, I have a grow bag of dahlias. Now, I don't know if you remember, but there was a video where I was putting these colors together, the peaches, the purples, the blues, the pinks, and I was kind of going back and forth on if I wanted to add yellow. I didn't add yellow, but yellow is here now. I'll take you up close on that yellow dahlia, but it's not supposed to be yellow. But here we are. Now on each side of this border, I did put an evergreen because I wanted something to look at over winter. Honestly, I could probably, or should probably put more evergreens out here, but I am still trying to find which perennials can overwinter outside here in Chicago in a container. But these have done really, really well. These are the Emerald Green Arborvitae Smargard. I keep wanting to say, what's the actor Skarsgård, but it's Smargard. I have it growing in just a 12-inch by 12-inch pot. I'm assuming if this continues to stay alive, I will have to repot it at some point, but right now it's doing really well. And I definitely don't water those as much as I water the other containers with annuals. That honestly gets enough water typically from the rain that we get, but if it's been a hot, dry period, then I will water it. But it probably gets watered once every week, every 2 weeks. But this is the label for that. I got 2 of these from Home Depot last May, which means that they have survived winter in this container in that location. And I didn't cover them with anything. No tarp, anything like that. It just sat here right there. I'll go next to the pots that are sitting in front of the raised beds, but this year I was really loving, I didn't do it for all pots, but most of the pots, I was really loving one type of plant per pot. Like I might have 3 individual plants of the same variety in there, but I liked having one type of flower per pot and then positioning those as if they were each individual plants in the garden. And I actually only have, I think, 5 different plants in this row of pots in front of the back border. In this row, I do have all 3 of the different colors of the lobelia that I'm growing. So these are all, again, part of the Laguna Royale series. So I have over there the pink, the blue, and the purple, and I think you can see how the purple is doing compared to the other ones. And like I said, it seems to be across all the containers with the purple, so I'm gonna trim them back. They are already watered. I don't want to water them too much and give them root rot, but I'm gonna trim them back, and then when it cools down just slightly, I'll give them some bloom boosting fertilizer as well. In the pots with well, technically it's the Laguna Royale Azure, or Azure instead of blue, but in the pots with the blue lobelia, I have a peony, and these also overwintered out here. So 1 peony there, 1 peony there, and I couldn't just have a plant with no flowers throughout most of the season because these bloom in spring, so I had to obviously put lobelia under them. And then what's on the end there, the other end and the middle, is another one that I fell in love with last year. This is the Nonstop Apple Blossom Begonia. So the flowers are white, the outer petals are orange, but because of the way they hang, this plant really does look more orange than it does white. So I absolutely love this, and it really is nonstop. It just keeps going like this for the entire season. I believe there are 3 of these in this pot, which is about 12 inches. I think I put 2 of the lobelia in there, and there's 3 lobelia underneath the peonies. And then I also have some lobelia tucked back in the raised beds. Next, we'll head to the raised beds and grow bags behind that front row of flower pots. In each of these raised beds, I did plant the same plants, and I think maybe about half of them are blooming. I'm still waiting for the other half to get their flowers, but I will call out the specific varieties that are blooming because I know what they are. The ones that aren't blooming, I'll know, for example, if they're a China Aster, but I don't remember where I placed anything until they start to bloom. Well, first off, let's start out with this yellow dahlia. This is a tuber I got that was called Pink Pearl. And this one, at least, this is the first one that I've had, is very yellow. Now it was kind of a light pink, maybe a little bit of a very, very light yellow, but that is just a full yellow dahlia. I do see though, on these that are just starting to open, some pink on the petals. So I don't know, we'll see, but I unintentionally did add yellow to my back border. I also have the same exact one between these 2 beds, but it hasn't flowered yet, so we'll see if it is also a yellow one or if it is more pink. Now, the majority of the plants in my raised beds I did start from seed, but this year I also added in some of the annuals I got from Proven Winners because I needed some color before the ones that I started from seed started to bloom. So I will just go ahead. Well, first of all, I have the Angelwood Angelonia, some of the Lobelia, but now I will go through and whatever is blooming, I will point out what it is. First of all, I do have Status. I love Status. I use it mostly for dried flowers, but when I cut the flowers or it's not in bloom, I just have those low leaves. So this time, I think I had it in the front last year, I put it in the middle so that when this isn't blooming, you're not really gonna notice that there's an empty space right here. But this right here is the QIS Apricot Status. I think most, if not all of the seeds that I got are from Johnny's Seed. Over here is another Status. This is the Seeker Rose Status. It's a really, really like bluey pink color. In fact, I think, oh yeah, there's a more full one. So in this third bed, this one's even more open. These are exactly where I would go ahead and harvest them to dry. They dry and look identical to how they look on the plant, but I wanted to leave them on until after I film this tour. So these I'll be harvesting. Anything that looks like this, I'm gonna leave a little bit longer until they fully open to harvest them. What I think was the first plant to bloom that I started from seed in this bed is the Cupcakes Blush Cosmos. I have grown this for at least 3 years now, potentially 4. I almost gave up on Cosmos in general because one year I had 3 plants. One grew like maybe 12 inches, flowered and died. One grew gigantic and didn't flower till September. And then the third one did this. So again, small space. I wanted something that was reliable, but I think since then the Cosmos got nervous. So all 3 of them in these raised beds are the size that I would expect, and they are blooming beautifully. And these are also cut and come again. In fact, I think everything in these beds that I started from seed is cut and come again. I will let you know if I come across one that is not. I do have quite a bit of China Asters in these beds. I know that this is a China Aster, that's a China Aster, that's a China Aster, but the only China Aster that has opened up so far, and usually they do open up more near the end of July for me, but this is the Souffle Light Pink. And this one is a new variety for me this year, and I love it. I think I'm either close to or do have all the varieties of China Asters in my garden this year, but this was the first one and the only one so far that has opened up in this back border. And this is also cut and come again. I also wanted to show these two together because I came outside this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, these look almost identical. So I had the Souffle Light Pink China Aster on the left and then the Cupcakes Blush Cosmos on the right. Obviously, they are different flowers, but they go very well together and they look very similar. Next up is a plant I forgot I planted because I came out and I was like, did I put you here on purpose? And I did. But this is my first year growing Didiscus. Now, this is also cut and come again. The blooms are supposed to be very nicely scented, so I'm going to take this and give it a sniff, but this is the Lacy Pink Didiscus. All right, I don't want to be a hater, but like, it smells fine. I think because I just compare everything to an apricot rose that I grew that smelled so good, but lightly scented. Maybe I'll sniff the other variety. And then that Didiscus there is the Lacy Lavender Blue variety. There's also a white variety, but I did not get one for this year. I might next year though. That might be really pretty on the garage deck. I do have one zinnia flower so far. They are very close to opening, but this is the Ballerina Zinnia from Johnny's Seed, which I believe was new for them and I think also sold out, but it's really, really beautiful. It is a very soft, like ballet slipper pink, and I love the petals on this. Zinnias are of course cut and come again, and I can get so much off of one zinnia, so I'm very excited for this one. Now I think that's everything that is blooming so far. Oh wait, there's one more. This is the other Status variety that I have. So this is the Seeker Blue. And again, I would call it more of a purpley blue. That's one of the reasons I like the Lobelia so much, because that's like a true blue flower in my mind, but I also do love the color of the Status. This one I should probably harvest today as well. Now on this wall here, I have 4 wooden containers that I got for free from someone on Instagram. I have a cement container down there at the end, and all of these have the Super Petunia Vista Cool Jazz. There's one in the one at the end, and then 2 in each of these flower boxes, and fingers crossed the budworms have not found them yet, but I've grown petunias at least last year. I think I did the year before, maybe, but I love having this, especially as a backdrop behind the couch. Speaking of behind the couch, I have a bunch of dahlias. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dahlias. None of them have bloomed yet. Some are new that I planted this spring. Some I overwintered in the garage. But they're all looking really good. They do have flower buds on them. They are in 7-gallon grow bags with 19-inch cages. The only one that was having an issue is this one, which I found scale on. The top was just looking really terrible. So I cut off all of the parts where the scale was, and I made sure there wasn't any sign of them left. It is starting to grow back. I am keeping a close eye on it. But so far with the dahlias, so good. I'm now standing right in front of the back border. That is my last raised bed that I have out here, and is the only one not set to irrigation because the butterfly, 1 second. Anyway, as I was saying, that raised bed back there, I couldn't get irrigation to, just because the length it was running, that's at the end of it, and going up into the bed, there just wasn't enough pressure. But I mean, only hand watering a few pots is fantastic with me. So I'll take you up close. Up front here is the Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud. I put this in because this bed is full of China asters and they weren't blooming yet. So I put these in the front and they're doing really well. They're really beautiful in here. And then in the bed, what I did was plant all of my extra China asters because I had so many. And this is what I told myself. I told myself, oh, I'll plant them in here. I put them in rows by variety and labeled them. I'll put them in here, but then I will dig them up and put them somewhere else, like in a border. I knew at the time that wasn't going to happen, and I was just going to have this bed full of China asters, but honestly, it makes me really happy. So I think 3 of them, well, 2 of them have completely open flowers, and then 1 of them is just starting to open. This over here again is the Souffle Light Pink. So I have a bunch of blooms in different stages. Then this one right here is the Europe Resist China Aster. So it's a little bit more of a light lavender pinky color compared to the Souffle Light Pink, which is light pink. But I have a bunch of buds on other ones in here. I have at least 7 varieties in here, and there's another one that's just starting to open. Now, this poor China Aster got burnt when I was gone at the Bailey's Nursery event because it was the first time it was in the 90s, and this one gets the most sun in this bed. But this is the Valkyrie, so it's not open yet, but she will be open soon. This one, I think you can tell, has the very thin, wispy petals. So I'm really excited. And then the other plant I have in here is Thunbergia. In the back of this bed, which this bed is my only bed from Cedar Planters, and I do wish I had more because I really like it. I like the metal legs, and I also like the accessories it comes with. So this black frame on top of the bed is for a greenhouse cover, and then also like a netted cover that I used in the spring. And I thought, you know what, I'll take this off, but then I thought maybe I can grow plants up it, and I'm really glad that I did. So in the back are 3 Sunny Rose Sensation Thunbergias. This one is doing a great job growing, but not a great job of clinging onto whatever material this frame is made out of. So I've just been putting masking tape and training these to grow the way I want. And I mean, I've had this masking tape, well, this one, but the masking tape so far has held up through all the rain that we've been getting. So I have it trailing up there, across the top there, and then on each of the bars that go down to the sides. So right here is the Pinnacle Hydrangea where I started. So the last plant kind of around the outside is just a pot with some of the Wedgwood Angelonia, the blue Wedgwood Angelonia in it. I love this flower so much. I get so much use out of it with the cut flowers. Like, it does a great job of filling out my bouquets, but then also, again, it just looks like that. So I'm definitely going to try probably all the varieties of Angelonia that I can. Now, what's in the center are really just a few pots. I had more pots in the center last year, but I didn't want to run drip like across the deck. So none of these are hooked up to irrigation, and I just didn't feel like having that many pots to hand water. But right here next to the chair, I have the Angelonia Wedgwood Pink. I have some of the Wedgwood Blue right there, along with some lobelia, the blue and the purple, and then this one is also not doing great. So we're gonna see, but I've had plants kind of do this before in the heat and they bounce back. Now the final pot is right here with a bunch of poppies because, again, I couldn't I couldn't say no and pull them when I planted some other things in here. So this was full of poppies. I mean, it still is, which is why I've left it in the pot. This is probably my largest pot. I think it is 24 inches in diameter. I used to grow a plum tree, but it didn't survive the winter, so I'm just sticking to annuals for now. But I might use this for, I mean, I was thinking maybe a slightly larger panicle hydrangea in the future. I don't know, we'll see. What I've planted alongside it that hasn't flowered yet is some yarrow. This is a variety from Johnny Seed. It's just called, I think, Summer Pastels. So I don't know what color each of them are specifically, but it is just a mix of yellows, peaches, and pinks. But I have, I think, 4 plants in here. And that's what I have growing over here on my back deck. I love this so much. What do you guys think? You like it? You like it? So that is how my back rooftop deck garden is looking for July. Again, this is always the prettiest month, I would say, in the garden because pests and disease haven't come along yet. Everything's green, everything is just starting to bloom. So I absolutely love this time of the year. So let me know if you have any questions down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.